A Christmas Horror Story from 2015. I was debating on whether or not to review this. It does have zombies in it, but there's a technicality. There are a total of 4 stories and only one has zombies. But there's zombie elves at the North Pole and Santa's fighting them. Okay, I must review this. I'll give a brief synopsis of the other sections too, but the main object here is the Santa story. So to begin with, spoiler alert. The opening music is a very gothic, awesome version of Carol of the Bells. We begin at the North Pole. Santa's walking by the reindeer stalls, speaking to them when something loud bangs against the barn doors. Santa turns, and you can tell he's been through a rough night as a large scar adorns his face with fresh blood on it. He knows something's about to go down, so he picks up a double-headed axe and prepares himself. It is so cool. Santa versus whatever dark, horrible thing that's trying to burst in the door. Go, Santa! The doors burst open and we cut to a radio station DJ. But it's no ordinary DJ, it's William Shatner. He's there for Christmas. He's playing Christmas songs and making announcements about a charity food drive at the mall. He announces that Norm, the weather guy, is heading to the mall and tries to have some banter about it. Norm is in the other room and simply holds up a sign that says F Christmas. Wow. He goes anyway, and Shatner keeps drinking eggnog and spinning the carols. We then cut to one of the side stories. As I said, there are 4, including the Santa one, and I'll give you a brief rundown of each. In the movie, they're laced together, cutting back and forth. Anyway, this one begins with 3 teens watching a video about a double murder that happened a year ago in a school. The video shows a cop investigating and finding the gory remains. The school is locked up because it's haunted. The teens stop at a friend's house to get the keys from a girl. The girl says they just caught her in time. Her family is heading to her great aunt's house at the last minute. The teens get the key and go investigate the school basement, where everything took place. They end up locked in somehow, and weird stuff starts happening. There are a few jump scares here, and they eventually find what they came for, but it doesn't turn out like they expected. Also spliced throughout the film, we hear about a hostage situation at the mall charity drive. Everything's going wrong tonight. The next story is about the family of 4 heading to the great aunt's house. They get there, and the father tries to talk to the aunt, but his son is messing with an old statuette of Krampus. Krampus is kind of like the anti-Santa Claus. Krampus is a demon that punishes the wicked from dusk till dawn on Christmas Eve. The aunt yells at the boy to stop. The aunt's helper comes in and also tells the boy to stop messing with it. The boy then slides it onto the floor, breaking it on purpose. The helper is extremely upset, and the aunt tells them to leave. On the drive home, the father swerves to miss some large creature that runs across the road. He ends up stuck in a snowbank, and they begin walking. But they're not alone. A chain with a large metal hook flies from out of nowhere and slices the father's stomach open. It then flies out again and wraps around the boy's ankle and drags him into the woods. Fearing for their lives, they all 3 get to a church and lock themselves in. And here they start talking about Krampus, and how they've all been bad in one way or another to explain why they're being hunted. Just then, the chain bursts through the window and drags the father out by the neck. The mom and daughter hide in the confession booth as Krampus bursts into the church. The mom sacrifices herself to save her child, and the daughter runs to the great aunt's house. She begins banging on the door, which now has a large wooden cross on it, but no one answers. Suddenly Krampus shows up and chases her. She falls down and in self-defense picks up a large wooden fence post. Krampus runs right into it, spearing himself in the neck. She lights him on fire, and the great aunt finally lets her in. She begins telling the aunt everything, but the aunt knows quite a bit already. The aunt reveals that Krampus is an evil spirit that possesses a person filled with hate on Christmas Eve. In this case, it was the helper. The aunt's helper was so angry that Krampus filled his body and he changed. The daughter, hearing this, puts 2 and 2 together. She deduces that the aunt knew what was happening when her brother broke the statuette and sent them away to fend for themselves. She immediately kicked out the helper after the family had left and placed a cross on the door to protect herself. The daughter is getting extremely mad, and the great aunt is telling her she doesn't realize the forces she's dealing with. "Yes, I do," the girl exclaims as her eyes turn black. Her skin becomes pale, and she slowly transforms into Krampus. The aunt's doom is sealed. Our third story involves a family of 3 out getting a Christmas tree on private property. The father is the cop from the haunted school video. They chop down a tree and are walking it back to the car when the small son goes missing. They find him in the dark crevice of a large tree. They get home, but the boy is not acting right. He's acting mean and won't speak. He stabs the father's hand with a fork, trashes the gifts the father has under the tree, and is stalking the mom. As all this is going on, the mom gets a call from a stranger. He tells her that he owns the property that they got the tree from. He then asks if her son is acting weird, and that it's not actually her son, but a changeling. She hangs up on him. But after the changeling kills her husband, she's ready to listen. The stranger is a middle-aged man that tells her to bring the changeling back and he can get her son back to her. She finally gets there very late and brings a gun. There are dozens of changelings hiding all throughout the forest. The stranger tells her to relax. They won't harm her because he's there and they fear him. One thing leads to another and she accidentally shoots the stranger dead. Nice. The changeling that was impersonating her son steps towards her. She's crying that she just wants her boy back. The thing slowly goes into the tree crevice and moments later her son emerges. Her real son, that is. They let her leave, and now we move on to the reason I'm doing this movie review. Mwahaha! Santa versus the Zombie Elves. If ever there was a zombie movie that needs to be made, a standalone movie that is, this is it. Santa is in the workshop with some of his elves. It's 12 hours earlier than when we began the film. Everyone is working hard preparing for Christmas. Mrs. Claus comes in and tells everyone to relax for a bit and have some cookies. Everyone obliges her, except for one. He's not feeling well. She pushes for him to try one anyway, and he curses her out and almost cuts his hand off accidentally with a tool he was using to make toys. One thing leads to another, and he falls over dead. But wait, I didn't know elves could die, someone says. They can't, Santa replies. The infection spreads throughout the elf population as Santa walks throughout his home and workshop. Santa eventually makes his way back to where his wife is and tells her to hide. She exits the room as Santa picks up a long-bladed staff and prepares himself. The elves burst through the door and he's taking them out one by one. Santa isn't a wuss. He's laying waste. The elves are hilarious. I can't help it. They're spewing all manner of cursing at Santa as they attack from all sides. Santa eventually takes them all out and finds one more, Mrs. Claus. Aww. After finishing her, he makes his way to the barn, where the reindeer are kept, and we find ourselves back where the movie began. The door bursts open. Snow blows everywhere from the storm raging outside. It's the final showdown as Krampus steps in, chain in hand. Santa fights hard in this epic battle of good versus evil. Santa lands a devastating blow, knocking Krampus to the ground. It ends tonight. Just then, Krampus speaks. Norm, don't! Santa steps back. Who? We then see what's really happening. Norm, from the radio station, had went psycho. He had went to the mall charity drive to play Santa, but something inside him snapped. This Krampus was actually just a mall employee with fake antlers on. The movie then goes back through the night and shows the battle of the zombies as it really happened. Norm, dressed as Santa, killed his way through the people at the charity food drive. Just then the mall doors burst open. Norm raises the axe to fight, but he's taken out by the group of police that came in. Quite the twist ending. I give this movie a 7 out of 10. I so wish the whole movie was really Santa versus real zombie elves. You know what I mean. That being said, never forget, be safe, be smart, be ready.